live. Hope everybody's having a wonderful weekend. So I just decided, why not run some trains this afternoon just for kicks and chat with everybody. Speaking of chat, I'm going to set it to live chat in order to hopefully not miss messages. So there we go. I've already got 8 people in here. Lansu Productions, welcome. Joseph Batts, Lone Janker Keeling, Michael J. Michael G, I should say, Highway Rail Fan, Trainboy Productions, Exploring Pennsylvania, Maine and Maryland, Railroad Productions, DC Metroland Fan 2010, Curtis Berry, Maine and Maryland, Railroad Productions, Onion Pacific, Jamie Maxwell, Brandon McElroy, RS Railway Films, Jane London, Paul M, Delicious Taco, Train Time Boy, The Nova Fox, Oscar Hernandez, Brendan Harris, Rails of the East Coast, the Upper Illinois Rail Fan, Grady Parzin, Oscar Torres, Conrail 2021, DC Metro Rail Fan 2010, Pink Salmon. Why did I get an ad for this? Well, I think the live streams are monetized. Blake, Christian, finally at the time I can watch at. Terrific. Yeah, I don't know, usually I do streams later in the day, but today I had some room in the afternoon, so why not? Mr. ATSF Rail Fan, hi, watching this while keeping up on a CNO Western Maryland 1309, which just finished restoration as the only compound mallet in operation. Wow. Jacob BMD 642, hello. Storm, I'm sorry I can't pronounce the last name. Jane London, what is with the midday stream? Well, I had some time on my hands, so figured why not. Greetings from Germany. Wow, I got people from all over the place joining in. My Berks won't stop squeaking no matter what I lube. I'm so confused. Try using grease. Sometimes that can stop it, but yeah, I don't know. Usually there's some friction causing that. From Texas, oh, right. Can you run a Norfolk Southern locomotive? Yeah, I don't see why not. Let's go get one. I think we'll put a SD40-2 on. Should be able to pull this just fine. All right. Wait for our train to come around here. Wish the Hiawatha was still around. I wish they had saved one of the Hiawathas. The unfortunate thing is that apparently one of the, I guess Milwaukee Road actually did offer a museum at the time, the last surviving one, but the museum at the time declined it because it was still a modern locomotive, which is so unfortunate because, yeah, really such an iconic steamer. It'd be nice, because I know they have built engines from scratch. It'd be really nice if one day some organization or individual with the right funds would do the same with a Hiawatha. It would just be incredible. All right. Can you get Nerf Cat? Yeah, we can get him later. I think he actually is inside today. Run your -9 BNSF. Yeah, sure. I'll go grab that right now, actually. Oh, I'm just going to read this comment. SMT, my Lifelike Santa Fe unit has a 50 chance, but none of my shops have parts. Only one thing that holds the wheels came off on. The wheels look like they need replacement. Yeah, trying to find specific parts can be a bit of a challenge, but if this locomotive is, like, say, sentimental, you know, it's worth buying parts that are worth more than the value of the engine. So the best option in that case would probably be to just try to look for an identical unit online and steal the parts off of that. Most lifelike engines have interchangeable parts. There are exceptions though, so you do need to look into what you're buying. But yeah, just look for old lifelikes. You know, an old lifelike pancake motor, or even the 70s models, you can buy one pretty easily for like 15 bucks or less. They're not valuable engines. I have an old GP7 shell and I don't know what to do with. What do you think I should do with it? Well, if you're down to just, I mean, you could just give it away, or if you actually want to keep it, turn it into some sort of a display on your layout. You look like an abandoned scene or a train crash or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, sky's the limit as far as what you can do with old parts. It's not always worth it though. Anyway, I'm gonna go grab that -9 and I will be right back. Gotta love these old blue boxes, eh? Like, I bought this engine, I think, it was in an eBay lot, and it was probably worth about $20. If you divide by whatever I paid for the lot back in the day, I think it was like 70 bucks or something like that. And, you know, I just gave it a little bit of oil, did some maintenance on it, and, like, it runs beautifully. Like, that's really not bad. I bet it can even go slower. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, really not bad. My lifelike CNGR 5506 won't run. I got it from a garage sale and I don't know what to do with it. Okay, the first thing I'd probably check with an old lifelike locomotive is the wheels, because the more modern lifelike engines with the blacked out wheels, those oxidize really easily. So if they've been sitting for a while, they usually won't start. So just clean up the wheels, or even just move them around, like move the engine around with power on the track. And if nothing's lighting up or you don't hear humming from a motor, you know it's not getting power. Otherwise, I'd probably check the wires, because quite often the solder joints can break, so I'd investigate there. Give the wires a little tug to make sure there isn't a crack that's hard to see. Other than that, it could be a motor problem, but I'd look at the wheels first. Hi, I'm from Sweden. I really like the Swedish locomotive and its cars. Oh, thanks. It's quite a special train to me as well. It was actually part of the Cold War steam reserve in Sweden, and the one which used to operate up here, it was hauled out of a cave, I think in probably 1995 or so. Anyway, let's get this thing going. Such a sharp engine. Can you run a Canadian Pacific GP38? I don't know if I have a GP38 specifically, but I do have a Bachmann engine, which is possibly similar. Let me have a look here. I just don't know the kinds of locomotives very well. Like, you know, I can tell what an F unit is and stuff like that, but, you know, if somebody said what's the difference between an F3 and an F7, I couldn't tell them. I just don't know the details that well. So, as for this Canadian Pacific engine, somewhere in here is my dad's model from when he was a kid, and I suspect it's similar to what you're referring to. Huh, I'm not seeing it right now. I wonder where it's at. Oh, it's right up here. Yeah, let's get this thing going. Looks like I got some repairs I need to do on it. Question, I'm going to make a layout, but I have very limited space in my basement, so what size do you think would be good for me? All right, HO is my preferred scale, but if you have limited space and you want to build a layout with like a freight yard and like a lot of detail, I'd probably go with N scale, just because you're going to, you're, I think, going to be a lot more successful with it. I mean, you could build a small HO layout. I just, you know, you're going to have tighter corners and things like that. I just don't think it would be as enjoyable. For the size of the layout, I mean, yeah, you know, it really depends on how much space you're talking about. But keep in mind, you know, if you have limited space, you can always build a layout that slides under a bed, or in some cases, I know some people build layouts which everything's glued down on, so they can actually kind of tilt it sideways. So limited space does not guarantee you have to have a super tiny layout, but yeah, if you got limited space, I'd probably go with N scale. Can you show your face in the live streams? Well, I mean, I can. I don't really see why. Question, is there a store or website I should buy HO scale locomotives and accessories from? Not that I'm aware of. I mean, there are obviously, you know, there's like Train World and trains.com. I have bought some stuff from trains.com. They've been pretty good, but I don't find the prices are always the best deals online, especially when you factor in shipping. So online is not my preferred method to buy stuff. And there's not one store in particular that I think is better than another. Of course, there's always eBay, but that's, I find usually, you can most of the time find what you're looking for on eBay, but is it going to be a good price? Probably not. Oh, this thing's running way better than I was expecting. Also, if anybody's wondering why I'm running it backwards, it's because the rear coupler seems to have broken off for whatever reason. Can you run your Santa Fe War Bonnet after you drive the Canadian Pacific unit? Which Santa Fe War Bonnet? Because I've got a few of those. I mean, I could just pick a random one. James Green, salutations, SMT. Thank you. I want to transfer my DC locomotive to DCC, and I don't know how to see how many pins there are. How do I do that? Okay, not all engines are DCC ready, so first of all, you need to find out if your engine is DCC ready or not. If it is a DCC ready locomotive, it will have a DC decoder in it, and I'll try to see if I can find an example to show you how to find that. In a diesel engine, it's usually located above the motor, so you need to remove the shell, and it's a little chip. Let me try to find one just so I can show you what you should be looking for. Because I know, yeah, there's a DC chip. This is a DC chip. It allows the power to flow through. This is an 8-pin model, so hold on a minute, I just got a derailment. This is a 8-pin model, so you would want to go out and find a 8-pin plug-in decoder. Of course, there are different sizes depending on the engine is ready for sound or something like that. But, for example, on this steam engine right here, you just pull this out, and there would be a small decoder. You got one. This is different because the decoder actually plugs into the board instead of the other way around. But that's how you find out. Most boards are 8-pin though, especially if it's a budget engine. I wouldn't expect it to be any higher. Anyway, I forget what we were supposed to run next. You missed my money or live chat. Whoops. Let me see here. There is a super chat thing here. There's a super chat from a channel called SB. Greetings from Switzerland. Thank you for the super chat. Very generous. That's the only super chat I see, though. Sorry if I did miss one. I feel bad about that. Anyway, somebody wanted me to run a War Bonnet engine. I didn't see which they asked for, so I don't know. Let's just go random and run that Santa Fe one I bought a couple months ago, because that's kind of nice. Just get all the stuff off it. There we are. What brand would you recommend to get some good HO scale steam locomotives? Probably Mahano or IHC, AHM. Those are pretty decent budget engines. The detail's not too bad on them, and you can usually buy them for $100 or less. They're not the best pullers out there, but they're okay. But price is really the thing. I mean, if you wanted, you could go out and buy, some sort of an Athearn steam engine, or Rapido has some as well. But yeah, just for a good general engine, probably Mahano IHC, because I find that they're pretty decent for the money. Run the big boy. Well, we can. Patience, though. I'm going to just pull this train around. We got a lot of requests coming in for the big boy. Okay. Well, we'll run it next. We're running the Santa Fe first, though. I love these bigger diesels. Thanks for running the warm bonnet for me. Oh, no problem. Oh. All right. Or AHM. Well, AHM, Mahano, and IHC were all the same company, I believe. I really like the big boy. I'm surprised my parents are letting me get a 4x8 for my HO layout. Nice. 4x8s are terrific. If you have the space, like, it's a really good size to start, especially since a 4x8 is it's wide enough to actually have 22 radius curves, which, if any of you out there are going to build a layout, I honestly would recommend going with 22 radius as a minimum. I mean, 18 radius curves, you can get by with them. You know, they will be fine with the majority of stock out there. But if you want to run bigger engines, it's just going to perform a lot better. And the other thing, too, is a small engine is going to perform better on 22 radius than it would on 18 radius. Just the likelihood of a derailment happening is lower because there's less strain throughout the train. It really just, I think, makes the whole experience a lot more enjoyable. I'm starting my 16x4 layout. What curve radius would you recommend? Well, pick the widest that you can. If you're building a 16x4, I think 22 is probably the widest you could go. But if you have the space, I mean, I don't know if you've picked 16x4 because maybe the size of room is longer than it is wide. But if you're willing to maybe sacrifice some of the length and just make the layout a bit wider, that might be beneficial because, again, wider the curves, the more equipment you're going to be able to run, and it should be a lot smoother as well. Question: I bought a CN locomotive from a train show a while, and it will run on DC, but won't on DCC, even though it has DCC. What should I do? Sounds like a programming issue. I would probably just do a factory reset on the decoder and program it yourself, because in all likelihood, I mean, I don't know if the seller claimed what the number was, but it's probably an address issue. Because if it's running fine on DC, you know the whole drive is functioning properly. Good afternoon from the state of Oregon in the Pacific Northwest of the USA. I'm getting into the hobby because of SMT Mainline. I'm so happy to hear that. I have a butt ton of 22 radius curves that I have no idea what to do with. Well, I would probably suggest building a really nice layout with them, or if they're that useless, just sell them. I mean, especially if they're nickel silver, and they're in good shape, people will pay for it. Track is not cheap, especially new track. All right, I'm just gonna go grab the big boy and we'll run that next. Be right back. Oh, funny story. Last live stream, the big boy broke down and I still haven't found the metal part, so I was going to get my other big boy up and running the other day, which is why my workbench is looking a little bit funny, but I put it on the track in the video to test it and it's running perfectly, so I don't know how, because last time I was running this thing, it was running like crap, but it seems to have fixed itself, so no idea what that's all about, but hey, I guess we've got at least a big boy running now. Question, I'm building a short line called the Davidson and Missouri short line. I have a yard called Glimmering Yard. How many tracks should the yard have? Well, it's really up to you and how much space you have. I mean, if you just have a loop of track with a huge yard, it might not look very realistic, but in my opinion, the more tracks, the merrier, because, you know, it will give you extra storage for all of your locomotives and rolling stock, especially if you got a good DCC system and maybe you like operations. This is the last time I'm asking, but what happened to the Wakefield 909? It's landlocked in a barn in Gatineau. The railway closed in 2011 and it went out of business, and then the city spent $580,000 to buy the entire train, and then the train itself, all the cars got vandalized, and then somebody bought those for $3,000, if you can believe it, an entire consist with 9 cars, and they ended up scrapping 8 out of the 9 cars. But in the process of doing that, they destroyed all the tracks around the barn. So now the engine, the diesel and the steam engine, are both stuck inside there. So they've been talking for a long time about moving it to a park. But that was back in 2017, and they still have not done it. So I really don't know what the deal with that is. But we'll see. Hopefully, I mean, what I'd really like to see happen is some other railroad buy it and start using it as a steam engine, because if it goes to the park, it's just going to sit there, which is kind of sad for a working steam engine, but we'll see. At least it's in a climate-controlled environment at the moment. Hey, SMT, can you run the Spaceball? Sure. Your beloved company Bachmann. What about my beloved company Bachmann? Run the long F unit. Thank you so much for the super chat, Maryland Midland Productions. And yes, I will run the super long Santa Fe. Now, unfortunately, this other big boy I have does not have a regular coupler, so it looks like I'm going to have to just run the engine on its own, but still is running the big boy. Chris and Dom, welcome to the live stream. Hope you're having a good day. Anyway, see, this is what I'm saying. Last time I tried to run this thing, it was hardly going, and now it's not perfectly quiet, but I would not call that bad. I don't know, maybe it'll break down on the live stream and I'll get to fix it. Doesn't like that switch for some reason. That's interesting. Oh boy. The unfortunate thing about this engine, which I noticed, is the other day I was looking at it, and the motor is a riveted motor. It's one of River Rossi's later models, and the problem is that since it has rivets instead of screws, if you want to service it, presumably you'd have to drill out the rivets and service it that way, which is unfortunate because, you know, motors, they have to be serviced, especially DC motors, because they've got the commutator there, and the little gaps they fill up with the carbon, and if that's not cleaned regularly enough, it will destroy the motor. So unserviceable motors are dumb motors, even if they work well out of the factory. Do you have a New York Central engine? I've got a couple of them. Anyway, there's the big boy. Next up, we're going to run that super long F unit by request in the form of a super chat. Let's get this out of the way. The train can only go from end to end, so I don't even have to take the train off the track in order to run this thing. So here's the monstrosity itself. Run your fastest train HO scale. That was already requested, so I'll run that after. But for now, we're going to run. What's the longest layout? What's the longest layout? Longest locomotive in my collection. It's pretty fast actually too. Wow, that switch has really been doing a number. I think that's the third derailment that's happened today. The switch was not right from the factory, and I tried to fix it. The metal part of the frog was sticking out, and unfortunately, I don't know if I actually made it better or not. How often do you need a service motor? Because my Scotsman hasn't been serviced in about 3 years and it's going fine. It really depends on a lot of things. Like modern engines, like I have some engines where I've never had to service the motor once, because what happens is that, they've actually, tuned them so well, there's less wear on all the parts, so they can last an awful long time. The thing you need to watch out for, and unfortunately not everybody has this tool, is how high the current draw goes. So if you see the current draw climbing, it's most likely either because there's a bad coil or because the commutator's dirty, and like I swear, like maybe 80% of the time it's the coil or it's the commutator. So if your engine's running fine with not a lot of power, you're probably okay. It's just, especially on older engines that are like 40, 50 years old and that hasn't happened, in all likelihood, the commutator needs to be cleaned out. But it's all about the efficiency of the motor. So there's the super long F unit by request. Now I'm going to go try to find the fastest locomotive in my collection, and we'll run that. It could also be weak magnets. Yeah, that's always a possibility. It's pretty common, actually, in older engines, but weak magnets will not necessarily junk a motor. It's going to run less efficiently, obviously, but it's very rare in my experience that magnets are so far gone that it will prevent the motor from working. It would be better if people could replace magnets, but that's a lot more difficult to do than just cleaning out commutators. Anyway, where is the... Okay, here it is. There's another super chat you missed. The only super chat I'm seeing in my list is from Maryland Midland Productions. Again, if I'm missing super chats, I do apologize, but they do not seem to be coming in on my end. Fastest engine, a rubber band drive industrial switcher. That would probably be it. In this case, it's RDC, but same rubber band drive system, which is known for being really fast. Oh, the switch strikes it. Holy crap. Okay, you know what? Off y'all get. I don't know why that switch is causing so many issues. Any layout progress? Yes, yesterday I went installing that crossover. You have no idea how much of a nightmare it was to install that after I'd already built the mountain. Really bad planning on my part, but I wasn't 100% sure if I wanted to go with this way, so I left a hole in the mountain thinking, oh, if I decide to, there's a tunnel, but yeah, that's what happened. But I got it installed, so I'm probably going to do a video where build all the tracks and everything now that I've got that out of the way. Do not disrespect the boxcars. Well, they're disrespecting me. They're getting right off the, they're bouncing off that switch for some reason. Anyway, let's get that RDC ripping around the layout. This could be fun. Nice circus. The circus or the layout? Oh, I do really like this scene, though, and I want to integrate it into the layout. I think it's going to be a nice addition. A lot of detail on it, and, there's a lot of people, too, when I'm showing off the layout, who are not into the trains, but they like the detail. So if you put things like that, yeah, there's something for the non-train nerds to enjoy, which is always nice. Anyway, here's our ridiculously fast engine here. Hopefully it doesn't derail on that switch like all the others seem to have been doing today. But yeah, you can see this thing can hop. I mean the Circus, all right. We're on the Chattanooga. The Chattanooga is not running at the moment. Also, do not disrespect the Bud car. How could I disrespect the Bud car? It's the fastest engine I own. If anything, it's more respect than most engines. And it just handles these corners like a beauty. I mean, look at this. No active tilt. The truth is, though, these old Athearn ones, these are so tough because the drive's a few rubber bands, so it's really hard to break it. It's all metal, and the shell is a very thick plastic, so even if this thing derails, the likelihood of it actually breaking is very low, and if anything, it's going to do damage to my layout before something bad would happen to it. People give these things away too. These are very low value pieces of stock, which is too bad because they actually are a lot of fun to play around with. But these old band driven engines, not a lot of people want them because they're kind of difficult for a beginner to work on. But most collectors don't really want something like this because it's not a good drive. These are unreliable. The bands break a lot. But if you want a fun engine to mess around with, hey, you know what? Yeah, cough up $10 and there you go. You buy one of these. Go to any antique store. You'll probably find one. Are the curves super elevated? There's no tilt in the curve, if that's the question. The elevation on the track in general is just regular HO scale road bed. You can probably buy different thicknesses, but I'm pretty sure my hobby shop only sells the same height. We're in the SMT cars. I don't know where those all are right now. We do have that beauty, but I think I'll leave it up there. We're on a Canadian National train. All right. And yeah, we'll run this because it hasn't been run in a while. This was a dandy little find on well, it was Etsy of all websites, actually. SMT, how would you rate your engine to car ratio? Do you have more cars than engines, or vice versa? I think I have more engines than cars, and I'm perfectly happy with that. Because there are certain pieces of rolling stock I really like, and I mean, if you just had engines, that would not be exciting, but in my opinion, the locomotive is the more exciting part of the train. The rolling stocks, it's, well, I don't know. It's, the locomotive's the star of the show. The cars are side characters. That's a way you could look at it. But there are people on YouTube that will say don't buy too many locomotives because you only need a few engines to run your trains. Well, yeah, in a operation standpoint, you could save your money and buy a few really nice engines, and for some people that's perfectly fine. But personally, that would take a good chunk of the fun out of the hobby. I like having a bunch of different engines. You do sacrifice some realism, obviously, doing that, but the point of a hobby is to enjoy it, and if you enjoy having a bunch of different engines, I mean, why not? Especially if they don't cost too much to buy and work on. We're on the Royal Hudson. You have an agreeable point. What's the point of seeing a train if you can't see what's pulling it? Yeah, exactly. Hey, SMT, I just got a new Athearn, Utah Transit Authority, future runner, I don't know, UTA Bombardier cars in HO scale, and I have a ton of fun running them. Oh, that's terrific. 69 likes. It says 85 here, but thanks everyone. Can you please run a switcher? Yeah, I don't see why not. For what it's worth, check under the switch. I would put a piece of roadbed, preferably a nice piece of plastic or wood. Just put the switch on a level surface. Just saying it's not level. It's not the problem. It's the frog is a different level. They didn't cast the metal right, and it's warped. And I tried to fix it by shaving down part of the metal, and it did make it more level with the rest of the rails, but it didn't fix the problem. And then I tried heating it up with a lighter to see if I could imprint it into the plastic a little bit better, but the problem is there's very limited space because there's parts of the rail which actually go under there to provide power in all the different directions. So messing around with that is risky, but in all likelihood, the switch was bad when I got it. I think what I have done to date has probably made it slightly better, but clearly it's not perfect because there's a lot of derailments happening there. What's your most expensive engine? The Wakefield train. That little number cost $600. Not the kind of money I would ever usually spend on a locomotive. I mean, that's a lot of money, but it was a pretty special one, and I don't know, it had gone on sale. Those are usually $800, so I was kind of like, okay, you know what, I'm seizing this opportunity. I'm buying this thing before they sell out because it's a limited run, and I can have my childhood train back. I just bought an Athearn Dash 9 in a Fantasy Western Maryland paint scheme, and it runs great. I have a Meccano Camelback set, factory sealed. Should I open it? Hey, I mean, it's up to you. It's your set, but if you have something that's kind of vintage and it's unopened, you might want to consider keeping it around, because there could be a day, a few decades from now, where somebody's willing to pay a pretty penny for such a set. So just keep that in mind. But at the same time, too, model trains are meant to be run, so is leaving it in a box for that long the right thing? I don't know. It's up to whoever owns it. Now, somebody wanted me to run a switcher. There is a few options here. Not sure which we should... Well, we could actually go with one of these, too. This thing's ridiculously fast. That's entertaining. Have you ever had the idea of taking an 040, remove the shell, and put on a 20-foot container? I can't say I've had that idea. SMT, do you know what a GLC is, or Great Lakes Central? I can't say I do. Historically, Mahano has never really fetched much money. That's true. The old Mahano sets are not worth a lot, but again, we're talking about something that's new and sealed, and like Mahano is not that old yet, especially sets like, you know, that set they're referring to is probably something they made in like the 2000s, let's say. So it's going to be 20 years old or less. Not that valuable. But again, if you're willing to wait like 20 more years and that set becomes 40 years old, somebody might be willing to pay that, because I think what happens is that people buy all these sets. Well, they get these sets when they're children, right? And then years and years and years up the road, they retire, and they get back into model railroading, and what some of them want to do is collect the things they had as a kid, because either what they had as a kid has been broken or they got rid of it, yada, yada, yada. But they don't just want any one. They want one that's in perfect condition, so it can be the same experience as what they got as a kid. So again, it might not be worth that much now, but give it some time, and it could be. Because frankly, what I'm seeing with Tyco right now, like Tyco engines, not worth a lot of money. They're, you know, you buy a Tyco engine for like $20 or less. Most of them are in really bad condition, but if there are Tyco engines out there which have never been opened and they're in a sealed box, I suspect a lot of the kids who were, you know, children in the 70s and 80s, when they start to retire and potentially become collectors, I think they're going to be looking for those, and there's not going to be a lot of them around in good condition, because again, a lot of them they've been destroyed. So I think Tyco is going to become collectible one day. I could be very wrong, but that's just a hunch on my part. So there's a switcher. What does everybody want next? Hey SMT, if you ever come to Florida, I recommend checking out the Family Hobbies Center in Palos, Florida. All right, I'll keep that in mind. Unfortunately, my grandparents sold their place in Florida, so I don't know if I'm going to be making any trips up there for a bit, but we'll see. I really enjoy good condition Tyco engines for cheap smoking engines such as my Chattanooga. Yeah, it's not that like I hate old Tyco engines as well. I mean, they can be a lot of fun to work on. They're just they weren't very well built and they weren't very well designed to begin with. So to find one that's in really good shape, I find is pretty rare. And I just think that that's probably going to continue to happen because a lot of the ones which are around now, if people don't maintain them and they continue to run them, I think a lot of them could kind of fall into disrepair. So again, if there's one that's new in the box, it's never been run, all the parts are in perfect shape, it might fetch something one day. Of course, it's probably not going to run because it's been sitting for so long, but you open that up, you clean up the parts, I'm sure it'd be a fine little engine. How about dealer's choice, your favorite locomotive? Dealer's choice? Oh, whatever I want. I don't know. Leave it up to all of you. CSX. Sure thing. Can you run a Conrail locomotive and an Alco RS with the train of boxcar tankers? I'll put a Conrail engine on the track, but I don't know. Requests for trains tend to be kind of complicated, especially when they're specific ones, because what happens is that whoever requests the next train probably wants something completely different, and then they won't be compatible. So yeah, I'll put a Conrail on for you there, but I think we'll leave it at that. Can you do an LNN or PEMCO locomotive? LNN, eh? All right, I'm still gonna run the CSX. I just want to get more ready for the queue here. So first thing I need to find is a Conrail engine, which I have somewhere down here, I believe. Yes, there we go, Conrail. And it is an Alco too, so there you are. And an LNN. I certainly have at least one LNN locomotive. I just don't know where it's being stored on the shelf. Also, I don't know why I decided to put the Hiawatha down there. That was not bright. Yeah, I don't know where my LNN engine is at the moment, so for now I'm just going to run the CSX and the Conrail. But I'm gonna go fetch those boxcars I threw off the track earlier, because it'd be nice to pull something. When are you going to rebuild the railway? Seems to me you have plenty of room, but it's a bit of a mess. It takes time. I don't really have a specific day. Should I clean up the basement? 100%. It really is a big mess. I'm not going to deny that at all, but I don't know. I'm also not planning to I'm planning to add on. I don't want to rebuild the entire layout. A lot of people have suggested that, and they're really not wrong about it. You know, if I destroyed this whole thing, I could build something way better than what I have right now. But it's got the sentimental factor to it, and I just don't think I could build something that I would enjoy more than I currently have. So I want to improve what I have. I don't want to destroy it. What are the dimensions of your layout? It's 4 feet 2 inches wide in this section. I think this is a length of about 16 feet. I don't know any of the dimensions of this because it's all new and I've never measured it, so that part's inconclusive. Do you have a tip for laying ballast? Yeah, try to put a good even amount and tap the track. It will fall into place. I just have to take a call, so I'm just going to All right, I'm now back. Thanks for hanging in there, everyone. Hey SMT, what is the cheapest and fully functioning locomotive you've ever bought? New, I would probably say the Walters engine I got a couple months ago. Used, I actually managed to buy a Conrail engine from AHM at an antique store for $3. I did have to clean the wheels on that, but I wouldn't really consider that a repair. It ran right away. Anyway, here's the CSX engine as requested. I'm just gonna double check to make sure our switches are all in alignment. Good, good, bad. Well, I've successfully got it going train show speed. I don't have a tool to convert scale speed, or whatever speed this is, to an actual speed. I don't know the scale speed of my trains. A lot of people at train shows, they run their trains really, really slow, and it's supposedly for realism. And in a lot of situations, I know trains don't go that fast, but they do run them pretty quick out in the country. And I know this because back, I guess it must have been in May. Me and my train buddies, we went down to good old Smith Falls, Ontario, and I was driving from Smith Falls to Merrickville, and one of my buddies said that he saw a train leaving the yard. It was headed my direction, and I'm on a highway right beside the track, so I was like, all right, well, this should be exciting. So I pulled over, I waited around for it, and I saw the train, so I checked my mirrors, got back out on the highway. The train was doing 100 kilometers an hour, because in order to keep up with it, that's how fast I had to go. So that was, I didn't even know they ran freight trains that fast, but apparently so. So I don't know what 100 scale kilometers an hour is, but I'd imagine it's a lot faster than what most people run their trains at train shows at. So is it always realistic? I'm not so sure. Hey SMT, can you show the coupler system on your 4005 Big Boy? I have the same train and it needs to be repaired for the couplers. Well, I can show it to you. I don't know if it's really useful though, because somebody, for whatever reason, put it's got a European coupler on it, so I don't know what you would need to buy to replace that. You run your Hornby locomotive. Maybe, can I run my train, whoops. I run my trains fast at home, but medium speed at the club. Well, yeah, I mean, to be fair, some clubs do have kind of like speed limits and stuff like that. How you follow them without knowing maybe it's the amount of speed steps. But of course, every engine runs a different speed on a different speed step due to gearing, the motor, everything, the CVs, so I don't know what, I don't know how you'd follow that. This is kind of a cool angle. That's full speed for whoever just commented. Hey, I'm new to the hobby, and I was wondering what type of oil I can use to lubricate the vintage locomotives. It really depends. What I would probably go out and do is buy like some Labelle 106 grease and like some Labelle 102 oil, and you can mix those together in order to change the viscosity. So if you have an old engine with metal parts, use a thicker viscosity. So use more grease. If you've got a newer engine with like nylon parts, usually oil with just a tiny bit of grease is good enough, because metal parts create a ton more friction than plastic parts. Plastic parts usually don't need as much lubrication, so that's what I do. But definitely put grease, because grease is much thicker than oil, obviously. So on like a worm gear, it's a much better thing to use. The club is DCC, and I have the DCC remote, so it's pretty easy to keep track of, but at home I just set up an oval and run at full speed, hope for the best. Hey, SMT, I traded my MRC Amtrak F7 for an IHC Premier 280 Lackawanna steamer. Was that a good deal or not? I'm not familiar with either of those engines, especially not from MRC, so I really don't know what the value of it. I will say, though, I find the IHC/Mahano engines are pretty reliable and relatively good looking, so probably is not going to be bad for you, especially if it's an engine that you want. Speeds on the south portion of the Thayer subdivision can reach speeds of up to 65 miles an hour, Harrison. That's not bad. Disrespect the boxcars. I don't even know how this is disrespect to the boxcars at this point. I mean, they're going around the layout just fine. Hopefully I can get a DCC Berkshire NCE system soon. The only thing is costing around $800. Wow, well, that's a pretty darn fancy engine, I'd imagine, for that price. It's between Black Rock, Arkansas. Is that how you pronounce it? And Martin? I don't know if that's Kansas? I cannot pronounce that. SMT, can you re-rail the 040 tender on the Loco display? It messes with my OCD every time we test a repair engine. This thing. There we go. Alright, well, I think it's probably time to run that Conrail engine now. So I'm just going to take this off. Those boxcars were not troublesome, but don't run them fast. I don't know. I think they're pretty safe because I've got a guardrail around, like, I don't know, 95% of the layout. So here's that Alco Conrail for whoever wanted it. SMT, what do you think of Bachmann DCC? It's okay. I mean, even their sound value, I don't find the sound seems all that bad. I mean, to be fair, I'm not really a connoisseur of sound engines, so I don't own a super large amount, so I don't think I'd be maybe the best judge on that. But Bachmann in general, I don't know. They're a little mixed for me because years ago they used to sell their engines at a very fair price, so it was quite nice. You're getting an all-wheel drive engine for about the same as you would pay for like a lifelike pancake drive. So it's a really good value of money. But within the last 10 years, they've really hiked up their prices, and I can't say I feel like they're a super good value for what you get. I mean, Bachmann engines generally are still cheaper than you know, their competition, like a Kato locomotive. But the quality difference between a Kato engine and a Bachmann engine is severe. A Kato engine, I would say, it would probably run for 20 years longer than a Bachmann. I just don't find Bachmann engines last terribly long. They're just not super well built, in my opinion. So for the money, I think it's better to cough up the extra $20 or $40 it takes to buy that Kato engine, because it will most likely pay off in the long run as far as I'm concerned. It's not to say, you know, in some cases Bachmann makes a specific engine. If there's an engine you really want to get, you know, don't stop yourself. But if you're just looking at collecting engines in general, Bachmann's certainly not my first choice. Having said that, if you can find one at a really good price, because once in a while there's a hobby shop, you know, just looking to get rid of a new engine from Bachmann, like my hobby shop was dumping a lot of their old Bachmann stock, selling it at a real discount. Again, it's all a price to quality ratio, so I was fine buying some of that stuff just because it's a good value again, but their general MSRP, not so much. Maybe run a Reading T1. I don't have a T1. I don't really care for the F7. My friend was desperate to get rid of his engine due to his dog and cat enjoying shoving it off the table. And there was a piece missing from a missing piece driving him crazy. I got one hobby shop near me. It's tiny and sells barely anything outside of Aussie and some British engines. That's unfortunate. It's really too bad too, because I don't know, there's some hobby shops. The size of the store does not necessarily determine the amount of stock, because there are some tiny train stores and they pack their shelves to the ceiling. So it's too bad these smaller stores don't just apply that logic and be like, all right, we might not have much retail space, but we're going to use every inch of it in order to sell more. If they have more stock, they're gonna sell more stuff. Like, it's not complicated. I really don't get why some stores really understock their shelves. I don't know. Just seems to me like if I was in their case and I couldn't afford a larger retail space, that's probably how I'd go about trying to make the store more profitable. Here's something that has not been run in a while. I just want to see if it starts. There are two shops in Melbourne. I might go there sometime because they seem to have lots of engines. That's what I'd suggest, you know. Always like look on Google Maps or try to find out, because honestly, there were train stores in, you know, my area which I wasn't even aware of, because they're just less popular. And I went on Google Maps and I discovered, oh, there's this store and this store and this store. So always check around, because sometimes there are more stores than you might think. SMT, do you like pancakes? Of course I like pancakes. I mean, I don't think I know anybody who doesn't like pancakes, especially up here in Canada where you can get some of the best maple syrup in the world. Oh, a day with pancakes and Canadian maple syrup's a good day. What about bacon? Oh yeah, some Canadian bacon. The trick with cooking bacon, though, is at the very end, right before you finish cooking it, you clean up all the oil with, you know, a piece of paper towel there, and you pour some maple syrup over that, and the maple syrup will bond to the bacon. It's a crazy thing, and you wind up with this wonderful taste in bacon. It's the best thing ever. But you mean ham. Okay, there's a huge misconception internationally about Canadian bacon, and that's that Canadian bacon is ham. It's not true. in Canada, you can buy two kinds of bacon. There's regular bacon, just like you get in America, and then there's P-mail bacon, which for some reason everybody seems to think is what Canadian bacon is. Honestly, a lot of places do not sell Canadian bacon in Canada. If you go to the store, you're more likely to find regular bacon. So I really don't know how this whole thing came about. But P-mail bacon is delicious as well, but it is not the same as regular bacon. Ham. What would be your reaction if you saw Sam's Trains watching your live streams? Well, I don't know. It'd be nice to see him in here, but yeah, I don't know. I kind of wonder if Sam's Train's ever seen this channel or not. How's the extension coming along? Oh, it's going pretty well. In fact, I just started working on it again the other day. So, probably try to get up a video sometime soon of actually building everything, but my main goal is I didn't want to make a video of just installing this thing, was to get that crossover installed before going about making a video. And you have no idea, like, this was my fault. It was really dumb to build the mountain and then decide to add that on later, but you have no idea. Trying to get a soldering iron and all the tools and cutting the track and everything under this mountain, it was a nightmare. I probably spent 2 hours on that. Good afternoon, SMT. Got any big plans? Not at the moment. Have you lived in Canada your whole life? Basically, yeah. Canada, and I don't know. I think I added it up over the years too, because I visit America a lot. So I think because I probably spend about a month to a month and a half every year in the States through all the trips. So mostly Canada, but technically the States. Sorry, folks. Looks like another phone call is coming in. I'm just going to answer this quickly. Sorry, folks. I think I got pocket dialed. It's I don't know. It's kind of funny. I don't usually have this problem with calls coming in during live streams, because most of the time I'm doing these streams at night, and everybody, I guess, is just busy doing their own thing. But during the day, everyone's like, "What? Time to phone up Harrison." Have you ever visited the UK? Never have. I really like to at some point, though. When will the next live stream be? I have no idea. I never plan these things. SMT leftist Harrison. Boy, I left for like 30 seconds. I do apologize, but could be an important call. SMT, what is your favorite train, and what would you want? What would you want to get your? Well, I really wanted one of these things for a long time, and I managed to acquire it last summer. Oh, also I got this thing recently. My really nice members of my train club, because I brought this to the club there, and I was running it around, and they were all happy to see the Wakefield train in HO scale. But yeah, one of the members, he was so nice, he had this thing, and let me have it. It's from the 100-year anniversary of this locomotive right here. So that would be from 2007. Anyway, just a really nice little gift. You ever been to British Columbia? I sure have. What a wild province. Wow, it was quite the experience. Beautiful, beautiful landscapes. The railroads, loved it too, because I was outside of Vancouver, BC, so that was well, it was around Squamish, and there were these mountains, and you'd go on these long hikes. I think I could be wrong, might be 10,000 feet or something. Really, really long hikes, and there was this one day, it was just this amazing experience. I got to the top, and there's a freight yard right in front of the mountain. So from where I was sitting, I could actually see all the trains moving around. It was like watching a real-life model train layout. Really, really cool. Hey, SMT, can you run the Erie Lackawanna engine? It is also like the ones that used to pass my house. Erie Lackawanna. This thing, sure. Have you ever been to Wisconsin? To date, no, but me and my dad are planning to go on a trip to Wisconsin in about a week. First time I will have, yeah, we're going up to Milwaukee. I'm really excited about it. SMT, do you have a GP9? I believe so. Go to Spooner. Thank you so much. I love these type of locomotives. I need these paint schemes. Do you use 22 radius curves or 18 radius? The main line is all 22, but some of the inside tracks are still 18 radius, which is not a big deal because obviously I'm not forced to run larger engines on those tracks. Like I was saying, it would be better, you know, if I had all 22, but it's fine just because, again, the main line's all sorted out. Out of all the states in America that you've visited, which one is your favorite? I don't know if I could choose, honestly. They've all been a great experience. They're all very different. Like, I like Maine a lot, but I would describe Maine as being a lot more similar to Canada as a lot of the other states, but I don't know, like, I visited Florida, and it's just a cool place, you know? There's just a lot happening. Everyone's driving around these big trucks. I met up with this dude, and he was fixing this 80s, 1989 pickup and stuff. It's just like, I don't know, people are very, like, kind of free-spirited there, and in the Midwest, people are just ridiculously friendly. Like, I was amazed. You know, people say Canadians are real friendly. We can be, but plenty of jerks here, too, and I think a good example of Midwesterners being really nice was me and my dad. We landed and we had a connecting flight which was going to leave, and our plane was leaving late, and the flight attendant got on call, and we had just left Cincinnati, so it was from Ohio, right? And they asked if people who didn't have a connecting flight, if they could wait to give everybody who had a connecting flight an advantage, and everybody waited. We couldn't believe it. So yeah, really impressed by that. And just in general, too, I don't know, people are, like, super friendly. You go to the store, people just say, hey, how you doing? You know, it's just, I don't know, you don't see that here, funny enough. Same thing with Pennsylvania, too. That was a really nice state. I don't know why this thing is not starting. Oh, it is started, just the sound's not going. What do you think about Steam Rail VIC? I don't know what that is. Unless that's a channel. Can we do the Burlington Northern Shark? Yeah, I did fix one of those recently, eh? Have you ever gone to New York State before? Many times, because I go to Maine a lot, and you go through New York State quite a bit. And actually, there's this video on my channel. It's from a few years ago, mind you, but before the border closures and everything, every year me and my dad would go to the train show in Messina, New York. That was always a fun experience. And years ago, I got to go to New York City, which was a great experience as well. Obviously very different from the rest of the state, but still good. What's the worst locomotive in your collection? I've got this old Lifelike engine, and I don't know what the original owners did to it, but they did a lot of damage to it. It actually doesn't run too poorly, but it's not in good shape. Thank you for complimenting my state of Pennsylvania. My pleasure. It's a really fun place to visit. Scranton in general too, like that's where me and my dad ended up heading to. I mean, like the farming fields headed up there. It's gorgeous, but the town was just super interesting, especially Steamtown National Historic Site and probably the world's best trolley museum. Take you on an hour-long trolley ride for $5 on brand new, well-maintained tracks to a small baseball park. Pretty nice. So, can you run a Go Transit consist? Well, try. I better finish off this live stream because I have some other matters I have to attend to later in the day pretty soon. But I'll run a couple more trains for all of you, and then I think we will call it a night. Have you ever been to Stratford to see the Stratford Railroad? Is my favorite place in the world. I haven't, but I really want to go. Another YouTuber in the community, Sparky, he was supposed to do a meet and greet there. I don't know if with the border reopening, if he's going to do that this spring, but if he decides to, I might go. I don't know. It would be fun because yeah, Stratford's a place a lot of people have recommended, so I am quite curious about it. I visited Scranton, PA recently, and I like the museum. It's also the first big boy I've ever seen. Yeah, it's impressive getting to see one of those in person. I can't even imagine actually seeing what one of those running must look like. But yeah, I liked Steamtown National Historic Site quite a bit. Good museum. And the trolley museum is literally a walk across the parking lot. So if you want, you can do both. And I don't know, just the restaurants and everything. It was all a fun experience. I really liked the mall at Steamtown. It's a little bit troubled maybe, but cool place. And you walk through the mall, and then you have this bridge over an active freight yard to get into the museum. It's just like I can't think of another spot where they have a setup like that. I really hope this thing starts after whatever repair I did on it. Wow. What the heck? Okay, this might be a few too many cars for an engine like this, but we're gonna go with it. Maybe the wheels are not engaged or something. I don't know, something's off there. Thoroughly enjoyed the live stream. Thank you so much for an awesome live stream. I appreciate you joining. I'm glad you liked it. Okay, well, I think I'm going to take the freighter off the main line. We're going to throw the Go Transit train on the track, run that, and then I think we will call it a night. SMT, I put a Christmas tree, and I put a Bachmann 260 steam engine around it. Very nice. SMT making a yard. I'm so excited. I'm glad to hear it. It's not really, I don't know, it's more going to be for storage, but there's a lot of room for tracks right there. Like, think about it. I want to run so we have a track coming down this way. Switch right here, there's going to be two switches. So there's going to be a switch onto a track here, but I'm also going to put a switch here. That way we can actually run a second line up here for extra storage. And then right after this switch, right after we pass around the circus area, I want to have another switch. And I want that switch to break off and kind of just fill this whole area with track. It's going to be expensive to buy all those switches, but hey, if I can store a bunch of different trains here, it's going to be worth it. I might turn them into electrical blocks as well, because the benefit there is, since I toggle between DC and DCC, is I can run whatever I want, and I don't have to worry about anything in here moving. So I could park tons of different trains here and turn the blocks on and off as I will, because I already have the system set up. I just need to wire it in. So many different options. I don't know how I want to go about it, but figure it out as I go along. I wish I was there to help. I love doing track plans. If anybody has any ideas, I mean, I think that's the best I can do in this case, but I don't know if anybody has any ideas. Feel free to send them in, because I'm open to suggestions. What's that building on the hill? This is I think the brand is called Polar Lights or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, this was a set that I think they were selling for like under $30 at my hobby shop. If you look at it, it's very reminiscent of the Addams Family house. And that's because allegedly the company that made this wanted to make the Addams Family house, but buying the rights were too expensive. So instead they basically took a lot of the shapes off the house and then rearranged them. That way it would be, they wouldn't have to buy the rights. That's according to the guy at my local hobby shop. That's what he said happened. But I just thought it'd be a cool model, and I designed it, like I painted it up to really look like the Addams Family house, because it's kind of a Halloween classic. So I just thought that'd be fun. Put it on top of a hill too, just like the real thing. Again, though, it's one of those types of things that people who are maybe less into the trains, when they come to see this, they'll see something like that and be like, "Oh, it's an Addams Family house." Have you been getting any snowfall where you live? Very, very mild amounts. It's more been dustings. Triple track, locomotive repair shop, fouling facility would fill that space well. Maybe so. How many trains do you think you have? 400 locomotives. I was thinking about, there's probably enough space in the yard too. If I wanted, I could put a turntable. I already bought a turntable and it's not that big, but I don't know. It might be worth incorporating. It would just be nice if, you know, if I was storing engines there and I wanted to spin them around, I could just have that right there. Electrify it too, so it's more realistic and kind of more exciting. I don't think there'd be enough room to put a roundhouse there. And furthermore, again, it's for the trains, just because I've got trains. I got like the TGV, I've got the Wakefield train, I've got the Bombardier Talent commuter train. I got this thing. There's a lot of different trains I have, and it would just be nice if I could store them, because then I wouldn't have to take them on and off the layout every single time I wanted to use them. So it would just be great. Got any Ferramix locomotives in your collection? At least one. I think I need to get these off the main line. Thanks for all your videos, Harrison. I always enjoy them. It puts a smile on my face hearing that. Let me tell you, all the support from everybody really does mean the world to me. Did you go back for those $25 Tyco Mantua steamers in Maine? That was a steal. No, I mean, the store was like 40 minutes away from where I was vacationing. I only went because me and my dad, we were at the main mall, which wasn't super far away, so we decided to go. But those were great deals. I don't know. I just didn't want to kind of hog up all the engines. Like, if I wanted to get more, you know, they were good prices, but I think somebody else would probably appreciate them more than I would. I'm still happy I bought that one brass engine, though. I mean, that's quite a beauty of a locomotive there. It needs work, but for $50, well, no complaints there. SMT, what's your favorite type of soda? I don't know, either a good root beer or sometimes a good Coca-Cola. Put a couple ice cubes in there. There's nothing like it. Oops. Cold soda and chocolate wines. What? What's your favorite Locomotive brand? Mine is Norfolk Southern. Canadian National. You're my favorite channel. Thank you. Do you have any heritage units in your collection of engines? I don't think I have any heritage units, no. The key word there is think. My favorite railroad is the Delaware and Hudson. They had a pretty groovy little paint scheme there at one point. How about modeling a railroad museum so you can display whatever you wish? Not a bad idea. That's pretty creative, actually. I like that one. Harrison, have you ever tried to build an old Craftsman style kit, the wooden wire parts? I don't think I have, no. Do you have any O-scale trains? Yes, well, actually, right over there is basically my entire O-scale collection. On that shelf right there is where I store all my spare stock. Is this a basement or a garage? This is a basement. I'm working on a 5-foot cardboard railroad crossing. Well, that sounds like an exciting project. Have you ever had A&W root beer? A&W root beer rocks. I mean, A&W in general. Oh, what a restaurant. How many locomotives do you have? I think I have about 400. 400. Not 100% of those are in working order, but if you count engines, which could potentially run, I would I guess 400 of them. Anyway, we're almost wrapped up with this live stream. Let's pick up the pace here. Let's let this thing do 3 more laps, and then I think we will call it a night. What was your first locomotive and when? Well, it's kind of hard to say because I got a bunch of the engines. I don't know which one I opened first, but I didn't start with 1 engine. I started with 4 because the first train set I got was a lifelike. I think it was a rail charger or something, a CN engine. So I had a CN engine, via Walters engine, and a Bachmann 260. But I got them all this. Well, I don't know. I got the Bachmann engine and the Via on Christmas Eve, and then the train set the next morning. So I guess it was either the Bachmann engine or the Via. I don't know. There's a video somewhere of it. I have to dig it up one day. Because as of this year, I will have been in the hobby for 15 years. I know to some hobbyists that's not a lot of time, but to me it sure feels like it. My first was a Bachmann EMD GP40 from the 80s. The 80s. I wish I could have seen them. I hope I can get back into the hobby soon. It's a great party it's a great hobby to be part of. Hold on there, folks. I got a call coming in here. I'll just answer this. Alright, thanks for hanging in there. Anyway, I think I'm going to finish off the live stream now. Thank you guys all so much for joining in this evening. I really do appreciate it. I hope you all enjoyed running the trains here. I certainly enjoyed it all, and yeah, hope everybody has a wonderful day. Anyways, I think I'm going to finish